done, right?
Sadly, yes.
No, he signed an extension, so the Leafs we're good. Hockey's around the corner. You know that?
Yeah.
She's from
love
San
hockey.
Diego. She doesn't.
Now we talk.
I have some hockey friends.
Okay. Anyway, pretty wild trip to Kentucky. We started with 2 matches on the Friday against 2 really good teams, and I know I told everyone that we were going to up the schedule a little bit this year, and really found a way to make our way through on the Friday with 2 really good wins. And then Em will talk a little bit. It's hard to, in our sport where you play multiple matches in a day and then you got to reboot and play the next day, especially early. So they had moved the match from 7 p.m. to 4 o'clock. Because Florida football was playing at Kentucky, so they wanted to play before the match. So not a lot of time for the girls to turn around and get ready. But obviously a big win. You know, as I've said to people before, we've been here 18 months. I don't fully understand the Purdue thing, the Kentucky thing. I know that my phone was on fire yesterday, and people were really excited about the win. So we're happy. I just think part of our conversation today with the team is going to be about our goals to try to beat Kentucky's in week 15, 16 towards the end of the year, not in week 3. I mean, there's a lot of season left. I think it's a huge mistake to get too confident too early. We got a lot of stuff to get better at, and you can attest to that as well. I think we got a long way to go, but obviously fortunate for the win. I'm really proud of the kids. They worked really hard all week. We're still battling injuries. Haley Armstrong wasn't available. Kendall Bierman pretty much wasn't available for the Kentucky game. So when they get healthy and get ready to go, I think we're even better. And 8-2, we'll take it off to Tampa this weekend to play in more meaningful matches to try to get to that target of around 10 wins going into conference. And so certainly a happy Sunday, happy Monday so far, but work to do.
Coach, we've talked so much about building this program, and the fact that it was a huge rival is a cherry on top of things. But beating a ranked team on the road, what does this do for your program?
Well, I think it means a couple things. I think, one, it means that we've got a high end in us so we can play with some pretty good teams. I don't think that we've arrived. I don't think we're a top 25 team. I think we're working towards that. I also think it says something to the young kids in the state that we've been talking to and some of the young recruits around the country. We want this to be a destination place to play. You know, they've invested in the program heavily. I think the kids are having a great experience, and we want the top recruits in the country to take a good look. And when you have wins like that, I think there's some validity to what we do and how we do it. We've been able to attract incredible young athletes, Emily being one of them, and I think we're going to continue to do so. But it was a huge step forward for the program nationally to let people know that we can kind of compete on that level.
What does it say about your team to go down in that circumstance, a rival on the road in a hot box that obviously was Memorial Coliseum with no air conditioning, but they persevered and come through that? What's it say about the mental outlook?
Well, we talk about a couple things with the program all the time. We talk about gratitude, just that it's fun to be able to do what we do. We talk about grit. You know, the ability to do hard things and go look for the fight a little bit. I think it's easier to not play the top teams and maybe dodge some people, but we want to play the top teams. We want to see what we have going on and what we're made of early in a year. And so it's exciting. I think there'll be, when teams win and there's stuff you got to work on, their ears are open. You know, so I think this week of practice will be challenging and hard, and but I think they're excited for it.
After that third set against Kentucky, I mean, what was said in the huddle, bounce back and win fourth and fifth set against a team like that?
A lot of things that I can't share, probably publicly. It's a good thing the team kind of knows me and we've got a good relationship, because at times, you know, I'm an emotional cat, but it's because I care and there's passion to it, and I think they know that. It's Game 3, Kentucky looked like a volleyball video, you know, like a coaching video of how to do things perfectly. They were fantastic. And the one thing about our sport, instead of basketball or football, it's, you know, if you get run in a game, game's over, it's terminal, and you play another one, the score is 0-0. So I think the best thing we did is we didn't quit. We didn't pout. We just said, hey, they're a really good team. I think they're a team that's going to end up winning the SEC Final Four good. I said that going into it. They didn't play their best match, I'm sure, and I'm sure they'd want it back. But at the end of the day, they're exceptional, and they're going to have a great year.
Emily, to go off that, against Oklahoma, you guys went up 2-1 in that fourth set. Was kind of like Kentucky's third set. I mean, what changed from just that week to be able to bounce back and win those next two?
I think it motivated us to keep getting 1% better every single day in practice and leading up to the Kentucky match, and just stay positive and keep working as a team. As Coach said, just keep working.
You talked about you don't really know the Purdue or Kentucky thing at all. I mean, did you at least have a surface level understanding of the Kentucky thing, where you weren't surprised, or were you surprised by your phone?
Not really with Kentucky. I didn't understand that enough. And I'm just, if you know me to be anything, it's authentic, right? I'm just telling you the truth. I didn't know about it. Purdue, I understand. I understand the history. I understand all the stuff, the geography. And I understand it's a big deal. I spend none of my time thinking about Purdue. I'm sure, they do what they do, and that's great. Kentucky, their volleyball program, much like Purdue's, have been great. I think we spend a lot of our time worrying about us and trying to get better, and we don't talk about other programs. We don't worry about other programs. It's certainly not stuff that we spend a lot of time thinking of, other than the fact I know that they're good. And they've done a tremendous job, and I've got a ton of respect for both. But, I think there's a lot of people in this state that have some strong feelings about a variety of things that I've not yet to fully understand. And maybe that's a blessing, maybe it's a curse, but it's the truth.
After that second home weekend, you mentioned that you didn't think the team was as good as you wanted them to be and where you wanted to be big picture. Do you feel like this past weekend they kind of were closer to that?
I think so, but Kendall, we got to get back in the mix because she's just coming back from the double knee thing. Haley Armstrong played libero for us, and they got concussed in the Oklahoma game. And so she's coming back slowly, but we're doing what's right by her. So those are things that I think the team, we still haven't played, I think, our best lineup in our best situation. And that's going to take some time with chemistry as well to try to figure that out. So I have a vision in my head of where I think we can get to. I think we could be a pretty good volleyball team by the end of the year. I think we got a long way to go, and I tell them all the time they got boyfriends and family to tell them how great they are. My job's to remind them that we got a whole bunch of stuff to do and we got to get better. And there wasn't a bunch of celebrating by me after. I think they were probably shocked, especially the kids who haven't been around me. But it's dancing in the locker room and doing all kinds of stuff in week 3 is not my MO. I've been fortunate enough to win the whole thing a couple times, and those are pretty fun nights at the end of it, but we got a whole bunch of season left, and we got some stuff we got to really work on.
Emily, were you shocked that he didn't celebrate that much?
Not really. I've heard from the girls what type of coach he is, and I kind of liked it because it shows us that we still have so much more to work on and focus on getting better at.
You play in the toughest conference, obviously, for women's volleyball in the Big Ten. Playing some of these Power 5 schools that you played and now beaten, how much confidence does that give you guys going into this rugged schedule you got coming up?
It gives us a lot of confidence, but it also pushes us to getting better and focusing on scouting reports and learning about the teams that we're going to come against and putting our best lineups out there to compete with them.
Steve, when you see teams like Penn State this week, they're facing Stanford and Oregon. When you see those top programs giving themselves tough schedules, does that motivate you more to make sure your preseason schedules are like what you're at least trying to do this year?
Yeah, it comes back to, I think, the kind of kid that we want to come to Indiana. I think, Emily was recruited by the top schools in the country. She wants to play against the best. And, I think that's why kids like to play in the Big Ten. I hope that's why kids want to come to Indiana now, is because you get that opportunity. There's some elite volleyball going on. We're not there yet, but there's some stuff that you watch on TV. It gets your attention, and we play them. We go to Tampa this weekend, but we're opening at Minnesota, Wisconsin. We come home and play Illinois. It's 3 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country, 3 matches in a row. And we're not top 10 good. We're not top 15 good. I think we're a good volleyball team, but we got a whole bunch of stuff we got to cross off before we can play those teams and start to get cocky with anything,
Coach, you mentioned trying to get the best players to come here. How much is the new facility? I know it's early, but how much has that kind of been a shot in the arm for your recruiting?
I think it's great. And it said 2 things to me. One was just the fact that they got it done, and that the people were generous enough, the Jay Wilkinsons of the world, to donate and help the volleyball program. I think the geography was another statement too, though. I think volleyball, being off campus, tough to get to for students, tough to get to for people. Putting it where it is, right kind of in the heart of campus, right by basketball, right by Assembly Hall. For me, it was just a statement that it matters. It was a huge part of the reason I ended up taking the job, a huge reason why I'm here and my staff's here. And I think Emily would tell you that the players, it's such a luxury to be able to train and spend every day in a facility like that. We're recruiting 8th and 9th grade players. That's the trying to identify the youngest, best kids in the country. So our first recruiting class won't get here until 2020. I think that's our first full recruiting class. I think it's going to be one of the best in program history, which is the good news, and we hope to keep building off of that into the future, and it's a huge part of the equation.
What does it traditionally take for a Big Ten team to end up with a tournament berth at the end of the year?
Depends. There's been years. I've been in the Big Ten since '97. I played at Penn State and got into coaching there. It's in the 20 years I've been around it. There's been, usually 7 or 8 teams from the Big Ten go. There's been as many as 8 or 9. This has been a wild preseason. A lot of the top Big Ten teams have some losses early in the year, but that's because the parity's getting great. So, again, if you're good enough to make the tournament, you do. I think you've got to go play people. Your RPI has to be good. You've got to do a good job in the conference. And there's been very rare instances in the conference where people win, 7, 8, 9 matches and are able to advance if their RPI is great. But you've got 20 opportunities in the Big Ten to play really good teams. If you win more than you lose, you're going to end up in the tournament. Nice.
Lovely.
Lovely. You guys set?